All right, so in this one, we are going to be putting our login form as a drop-down menu instead of how it is right now with the inline form. The reason for this is because we are creating an e-commerce site, so we're going to want to have a shopping cart button here somewhere, and this login is really taking up a lot of real estate on the actual nav bar. So let's go ahead and open up our navbar.html page. So this is it right here. And we have this old reference of this dropdown. So we can actually use that as a reference. So if I uncomment this out and refresh in here, I now see that there's this dropdown ability. So I can actually put this form in something just like this dropdown. So we want it to work just like how register works. So basically, if they're not logged in, they will see this login or they'll see register. So we're going to put it inside of this same area here. And I'm going to put it after register. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out this drop down and paste it in here. And now, instead of all these list elements in the UL for the drop down menu, we're going to comment those out. And we're just going to cut this form, the entire if statement for the form, and we'll paste it in here. And we refresh, and now we've got this drop down, and it's showing us that we can log in. If I click log in, it logs me in. So if I log out, that drop-down menu's there. Cool. So let's change the name of it to being login instead of drop-down. So login. And now we've got that login drop-down. But we've got a little bit of a styling error or issue here. The form is like right against the right, and then we have our login button being a little small for what we have here. So let's change a few things. First off, the login button, I'll do btn block. And we'll see what that does in just a second. And I'll put a break after it too. So I'll refresh. And there we go. So the break actually didn't do anything. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that. Leave that out for now. And then we want to update the margin or how this is working. So let's go into the inspect element here. Inspect element. And I want to look at the form itself. The form, as we see how it's being rendered with the padding and margin on either side of it, we see that we can look at the text over here, and we've got this margin right stuff. So that margin right is actually affecting our form, but it affects the navbar right as well. So let's get rid of that class of navbar right inside of the form. I'm going to cut that class out and refresh in here. And now our form renders very well. It's not actually pulled to the right, but our form actually looks good. And if we break it down and look at that form still, it also comes out decently here on the mobile version of the site, or the broken down version. All right, so if we log in, that's good. Now if we log out, let's actually take a look at the page of accounts/login. So accounts login. And if we see the login form now, if I click on it, it actually doesn't allow me to log in. So what we don't want to see is the entire thing if the user's authenticated. So I'm going to just go ahead and cut this and put it right above all of this, the login form itself, the login UL drop-down menu itself. So let's make sure that we've got all this stuff tabbed in to know which is which. And then finally that end if there. We refresh, and now it's just showing that, which is cool. So of course there's another thing that you could do in this login. We could add a P class, or let's just add a P tag and say forgot password. You could have something like this in here. We refresh and we see that it's coming off to the side, so we would do class of text center. And now it's showing forgot password in there. And of course, if we had the link for it, we could actually show that too. But I'm just gonna do that real quick. I'll just copy and paste it in. So there's the link for it. And that's coming from Django registration, of course. So if we refresh in here, now we see this forgot password. I can do that as well. So that's our login button. If you have any questions on how this dropdown is working, let us know. Of course, the dropdown itself relies on JavaScript. So if you don't have JavaScript working, that's where you're going to see this error. So make sure that your JavaScript is coming through. So if we go into our inspect element, at the very bottom here, we have our jQuery stuff coming through, and then Bootstrap. So if we open it up in a new link, if this isn't showing anything or it's saying 404 error, that means your JavaScript's failing, and you're going to definitely need to go back and check on how you did all your static settings stuff. All right, so if you have any questions on this, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.